And now I would love to introduce our next speaker. She is the Director of Engineering at Kibana Applications at Elastic. It's Rhea Fratkina. So in this talk, Rhea will talk about the data visualization capabilities of the Elastic Stack and show a demo of the Kibana tools for data analysis and visualization. Rhea leads the team at Elastic working on the Kibana analytics applications. And prior to Elastic, she led teams working on e-commerce, white label solution, and content management tools. And this talk is sponsored by Elastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much and welcome everyone. Let me share my screen. Present. Okay, hopefully you can see all right.
We can see and hear you perfect. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. All right, so let's get started. Welcome everyone. And thank you very much for the introduction and for the opportunity to speak here. It's really exciting, and it's amazing how the challenge that we're all living with in terms of the virus and not being able to leave home is also an opportunity, because I can talk in front of all of you here and without having to travel anywhere. It's awesome. So I'm gonna just really briefly mention the company I work for, Elastic. In case you're not familiar, we're a publicly traded company that's distributed by design. So we have employees in 40-some countries, and a lot of us work from home. Normally I do. That's kind of where I am found most of the time. We are a search company. Elastic started out as a technology that provides highly scalable, fast, relevant search solution. And when I started using Elastic, I started using it as a search solution before learning about all of the other things. We try to focus on operating at scale and being really scalable and easy to expand as a solution, which really makes us unique in a lot of ways, because that was the initial motivation behind the Elasticsearch. But search means different things to different people. When I say search, most people imagine a text box. That's not the only thing you can do with search. When you select a subset of dates in a date histogram, it's also a search problem. When you try to find the location of the nearest driver in Lyft, it's a search problem. Fitting a function and trying to predict is also in part a search problem. So for us, a search is a foundation of the solutions we build. Elastic has an open source and free offering. You can get our code on GitHub. You can download our distribution files for free and use it. But we also have paid offerings in the search, observability, and security space. All of these offerings are built on top of our Elastic Stack. I already talked a little bit about Elasticsearch. I'm going to throw more words at you. Kibana is a UI that's built on top of the Elasticsearch data storage system. And then Beats and Logstash are tools you use to ingest your data into Elasticsearch. So with this introduction, remember I mentioned that there are many different ways to search. I'm actually going to talk more broadly about data visualization. That's one of the core things that we work on the Kibana team. And when you think about types of data visualization out there in the world, if you read scientific papers, the practitioners typically talk about two types of data visualization: exploratory and explanatory. And lately, some have proposed that there is a third one. I think there are truly three different types. Exploratory is something you start from usually when you are encountering a data set that you don't know very well. You want to figure out what data is there, what fields are available, what distribution each one has, what type it has, how reliable is the data, is it pretty clean, is it very dirty, what are limits and extreme values, and just the general shape of the data there, and the beginning of relationships. In real world, when you deal with data sets, it is not unusual to come across something where you don't know what exactly is in your data and have to explore to understand before you can really do anything useful. Explanatory data visualization flows naturally and often kind of follows once you looked at your data and figured out what's there and discovered your insights. You want to be able to present them to someone else, explain them. In the explanatory data visualization, you're using your data to communicate information. You want to have your presentation tied to the real data, but you also want to have annotations and text and explanations that goes around it. You want it to be compiled and built in presentable ways. Think of, in the current climate, all the COVID-19 statistics. There is a lot of thinking and design goes into presenting data in a way that's compelling and that's understandable to humans. And then finally, for the operational case, very often when you're dealing with observing a system, I don't know how many of you run data centers or websites, and you want to know what is your traffic like, what are your sales like, what is happening on your website. So you want to have a dashboard or a view into the system you're observing. You want to be able to check it regularly. You want to get your data as close to real time as possible. You also want to see how your data compares to either baselines, metrics, or traffic or occurrences in a different data frame. So, I want to know, how does my sales for the month of May compare to year over year, last May, for example. You also want to be able to detect anomalies and trigger, operational data visualization is important because it will help you not have to work on weekends if you set up those monitoring tools that allow you to understand what's happening. So all of those things are something you can do in the Elastic Stack, and I am going to jump in and show you a kind of a quick demo of a lot of different things. I'm going to go fast. It's going to be a lot of information. A lot of this content you can find in videos. So hopefully you'll just use this as a starting point to learn more about what you can do with Elastic. Here is a homepage of Kibana. As you can see, it kind of starts off in some of our solution UIs, custom UIs, but I'm actually going to go in and start from the very beginning and bring in a data set. For this particular talk, I picked a very small data set that's a publicly available set of data that researchers compiled by observing squirrels in the Central Park in New York City. I have a personal fascination with squirrels because I grew up in Russia, and one of the first things I noticed when I came to the United States is that squirrels are different color. So little fact for you. It's a CSV file, so I can very quickly and easily grab it if my computer did not freeze, which looks like maybe it did. No, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to grab this data set, and the tool took the first 1,000 lines and analyzed it to give me some idea of what's in this data. Right away, you see that you are learning something about the data you're dealing with already here. You can learn what fields there are. You can see that some of them have only 2 values. Some of them seem to have a lot of values. There is basic information available around them. So I am going to do one thing that I could just import this data and go back to look at it. And very often when you are dealing with a new data set, you will look at it and then go back and massage your data to fit better. In the interest of time, I am going to do this up front. Oops, sorry. Months, day, year. And I'm going to expand to 10,000 rows to try to grab a little bit more data as I import it. We're going to pull it squirrels. And one other thing I'm going to do, again, anticipating what I'm going to need later on, is specify. Oops, I have a latitude longitude field here. So I want to make sure that it is indeed recognized as a location on the map correctly. Oops, and of course I needed to use an underscore here. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfect.
All right, so it is just my computer that is struggling. Okay. All right, I will just move on. Sorry, I am not sure what's happened with my tool here, but if I ingested it, what you would have seen is very quickly I get the data loaded when my browser doesn't freeze. And I would jump into a tool that we call Discover that allows you to see the data that you have in your Elasticsearch instance. There are a couple things here. One is the date histogram on the top of the page. That's very useful in a lot of operational and observability cases because you can kind of see how your traffic is distributed. In this particular case, I learned right away that this data was collected in October of 2018 over the space of a couple weeks. Looks like they did not observe every day, but most days. I can start seeing some of the data that's in the Elasticsearch Index. Because we are a search-based solution, we talk about individual data bits as documents. So we will talk about the documents that are ingested in the index, and I can look at each one of those documents that corresponds to a set of data that was collected at the same time and see what's in there. Again, I'm trying to kind of understand what's available in the data set. Looks like there is an age field, so I can tell how old was the squirrel that was observed. Here is our location. There are some Boolean fields that describe the behavior of the squirrel. There is some fields that describe the color, etc. It's a little bit hard to read though. So what I can do is I can go on the left in the list of available fields and explore quickly to understand, so the age can be adult, juvenile, or unknown. And I can also add this field. And when I do that, instead of showing a list of documents, I'm going to start seeing a table that is easier for me to process. So let's say I'm interested in the age and the fur color. And then we have a highlight fur color. Can search by name. For example, if I wanted to understand all of the color fields, there is a couple more here. And then I can also filter by type. So there are some fields that are searchable and others are not, and some are in different data types. So let's say I just want to see what text fields there are. Down below, there is a bunch of different ones, but I'm interested in what do squirrels in Central Park do. And so right away, you get a data set that's more digestible and understandable to you as a human. You can kind of glance through it and understand that more squirrels seem to be cinnamon. There is some white squirrels. In terms of activities, some of them are jumping, sitting very still. They seem to be interacting with kids. I'm curious how many squirrels are chased by kids in Central Park. So I can just search, and it turns out that it's actually not a big problem for the squirrel population. Only 2 of them ended up being searched by, chased by kids or scared by them. You notice that when I start typing here, I can also specify filters that are based on the fields that are available. So for example, if I want to look for only squirrels that are climbing, I can set up this filter and see only those squirrels. Kind of moving along from here, you see that when I expand the field underneath, there is a visualize button. I can use that to jump into a different part of our application that allows me to start building those charts. So kind of moving from exploring my data into more of a trying to compile and present mode. This is a distribution of squirrels that are climbing, if you remembered my filters, by age, for example. So I can remove this filter to expand the data set and see all squirrels, for example. Or what I actually want to do next is I will, I will show you something a little bit different. I mentioned building a dashboard that shows a bunch of information together. I went ahead and I started one. So here I'm trying to just get a little bit overview of the data set there so that I can present it to somebody and explain what's in my data. This is the sunburst chart that shows distribution of squirrels, squirrel colors, and highlights. And this is a map. I remember that latitude longitude field I mentioned, where I can hover on each individual sighting and kind of understand a few of the fields from the data set. If I want to add more visualizations to my dashboard, I can create a new one. In this tool, again, I will go to my squirrel data set. You see the fields on the left, but what I can do here is drag and drop them on the main panel to help you very quickly kind of start getting an idea. So it guessed that a bar chart would be the best representation for this. Let me go back to our primary fur color and add this as well. So now I'm starting to see the distribution of colors by age. In this particular case, we picked 3 top values. I can expand this to see more because I know that there are several other colors available as well. So kind of starting to combine this data into different visualization types. You can build a bunch of different charts and do a bunch of different things in different presentation types. Down below, you will see the suggestions, so you can explore maybe presenting this data in different ways to see what makes sense, what conveys the information that you're trying to explain better. Jumping a little bit forward again, I mentioned that when you are doing an explanatory data visualization, you want to present your data in a very visually compelling way. We have another tool in the toolset of the Kibana stack called Canvas that allows you to combine really interesting types of presentations like this element that fills partially depending on the value in the data. You can do colors, backgrounds. I have 2 pages in this particular dashboard that shows different data. And I can expand it to full screen to present it on an overhead or show it more broadly. And then the last thing I want to mention is jumping to the third type of data visualization, operational. There is a lot of ways you can view your data, and our solution UIs provide a lot of specialized dashboards. But you can also see some examples of more generic dashboards of what you can do with the Kibana tools. If you install our stack and install sample data, you're going to get, as an example, a sample logs data dashboard that shows you what you might want to see in different, if you are monitoring a data center logs, just showing you all different types of charts. Here, if you imagine yourself operating, you may want to be able to explore your data and check, for example, for your US-based traffic, and see how things are working here, and then compare it with Great Britain, for example, and see what's happening in England. So a lot of different things you can do here. Other examples, just wanted to briefly show all the different maps you can build in our systems. A lot of map functionality available. And the last thing I wanted to demo, and go back to the dashboard and show you one more. Something that is very different. So when you can observe not just a system that collects logs and metrics, but in this case, we have an example of an e-commerce dashboard that kind of shows you your site traffic and operations. So a lot of functionality and abilities here. And that's pretty much it. Different tools, different things you can do, a lot you can explore, but at the end of the day, you can use Elastic Stack, you can deploy it on cloud to play with it and try it out, or you can install it locally, totally up to you. And that is all I had. So it looks like.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
It's very, very complete. Like you say, I think it's a lot of like clicking around and playing with it as well and seeing how you can present it. So that's awesome. How long have you and the team been working on that?
Well, Kibana, gosh, I want to say is 8 years old as a tool. There is definitely a lot in there. I did a very quick gallop through a few of the key features. I've been at Elastic for 2 years now. So yeah.
And Ginger is asking, who are Elastic's and Kibana's main users when thinking about people's roles? So would it be, for example, analysts or business stakeholders, etc.?
We have a lot of different users and a lot of different scales of companies using Elastic. Some, small businesses that just want to stand up a stack for search. We see those. We have some huge enterprises that use Elasticsearch commercial products. And there'll be business analysts working with predefined dashboards or building their own to understand their business. There may be DevOps and operations folks observing their websites. We have a lot of really interesting features in the security space in the SIEM app. So you'll see security practitioners who are, hunting threats and protecting their company's systems. So it really varies very widely, which you can probably see by kind of like how I ended up jumping in a bunch of different directions here.
Okay, and Faith is asking, and you'll have to excuse me, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, it's just some letters, so it's abbreviated, but she's saying it reminds me of QGIS. Is this program related to it?
I am not familiar with QGIS, so I'm not sure.
I wish I could help elaborate, but I'm not too familiar with it either. Faith, if you'd like to explain a little bit more in the chat box, or raise your hand if you'd like to come off mute. Oh, she's saying it's an open source data visualization tool.
Oh, okay. I will have to look it up. I have not heard about that before.
Yay, we learn something new every day, right?
Absolutely.
And Marupaka is asking, how is data governed in an Elastic instance?
Governed. That's an interesting choice of words. If you're talking about data security, we have features that allow you to secure subsets of data and create spaces within Elasticsearch. So that's one interpretation. The other is when you ingest data into the Elastic Stack, you can also set up various policies to, for example, move your data into slower kind of cold storage. So there are life cycle stages of the data set. So there is a lot of functionality and a lot of capabilities you have both around security and around data life cycles, and kind of how much do you want to be able to interact with this data.
Great. And Faith has actually clarified what QGIS stands for. It's Quantum Geospatial Information System.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you for that. And I also see that you put on the slide that Elastic is hiring. Would you like to just give a little shout out as to what roles you're looking for and what needs your team has at the moment?
Yeah, so we're actually hiring for a bunch of different roles. If you go to our website, you will see, in particular, our cloud team is looking for tech leads and site reliability engineers and a bunch of others. And I understand that we are participating in the virtual job fair on Thursday, so definitely come.
I wanted to quickly jump in because I'm part of the Power to Flying team who is helping the Elastic team with their hiring needs. So I'm very, very happy to be here. So if you are willing to learn more about Elastic, or if you want, or if you know someone who wants to get in touch with Rhea, just shoot me an email at miriam@powertofly.com, and I'll be super happy to make an introduction to the Elastic team. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you. And thank you for that shout out as well for the virtual job fair on Thursday, where Elastic will be also joining another, I think we have like 23 or 24 companies who will be giving presentations every hour. So we welcome everybody to join us on Thursday. Thank you so much for your talk, Rhea, and we wish you all the best.